Anita!
Oh my goodness.
Yay!
I made it. I made it.
We made it. Awesome. It's so good. Oh my heavens. And a special shout out to Stephanie Rosado, who's in the background, and she's helping us work through this. And we're just so happy about her desire to get us live, right, Anita?
Yes. I called Stephanie and said, what am I doing? I am not doing so.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
So she told me what to do, and so I'm back. She said, you were live, and then you left. I said, oh my goodness. Okay.
No, it's all good. It's all good. And we want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Oh, it's so, Stella, I see you, T-Berry 34. I know there were several others that joined on the scroll. I can't see, but keep saying hi, put comments in the chat box, use your heart, everything about it, because Anita, everybody wants to hear you talk about sports social work and how you got in it, and we have a lot of things to talk about. We have about 20 minutes, but first of all, tell us a little bit about you as a social worker.
Oh my goodness. I have been a social worker since 1985.
Girl.
I was 12 when I got started. To hear my classmates, they would say she was bossing us around in the first grade, so we knew that she was going to be a leader. But yes, I've been a social worker since 1985. I really started my career, believe it or not, working with athletes in 2015. I just happened to see Larry Fitzgerald in an interview, and he said something that sparked my interest right before Super Bowl 43, and I said, he's going to need a therapist. And from that point on, that was 2009, I started doing my research about how to become a sports social worker. And so that's what I did. I found out about the sports counseling certificate at California University in Pennsylvania. I got that sports counseling certificate, started working with student athletes at North Carolina Central University. Now I'm working with student athletes at Duke University, also approved with the NFLPA, the NBPA, and I love working with the athlete population. It's a fantastic group of people.
Oh, Anita, you know, as president, yay, round of applause.
Thank you.
Of the Alliance of Social Workers in Sports, and you know, your leadership in this last year, and now we're going into your second year of leadership. We're so excited about that, where we're going with our strategic plan. But it all started for you in the 80s as an MSW, and then
I was a BSW in the 80s.
Ooh.
And then I did get my master's in 89. And so right before 1990, I started working at the United Way in Wake County. And you know, United Way has a relationship with the NFL and with some college sports. And so when I became exec of the United Way in Orange County, which is Chapel Hill, North Carolina, we actually did a video shoot with Eric Montross. I still have that tape. Can you believe it? Actually, I started with athletes a long time ago.
And it's your social worker soul has a huge part for sports social work. And we didn't even know it was called that then.
No,
right?
We didn't know what it was. All we knew is that social workers were helping athletes deal with challenges such as anxiety, depression, along with helping their families, you know, just navigate systems. And that's the major reason why I became a social worker, is because I want to help people navigate systems. And sometimes they don't know where to start. who to talk to first. And that was really it. And even with athletes, it's almost the same thing. They don't always know where to start or who to talk to first. And so now I have the luxury, this is really a blessing, to work with United Black Athletes at Duke University. They have their own organization, which they started right after the George Floyd situation, and they organized. And so I meet with them every couple of Wednesdays a month and look at mental wealth, look at things they can do, just try to have activities with them about staying healthy mentally.
Yeah.
And the importance of that.
And so obviously mental wellness, mental health, all these terms that we're seeing emerge more and more, especially in social media, especially as stigma has decreased in accessing services. And we know that, we have evidence for that in myriad popular literature sources, things like the cover of Time magazine, things like the cover of The Economist magazine. I mean, like in all these interdisciplinary places where we're saying, look, it's time. We're using the athletic arena not only for the growth of a social justice movement in the sport arena, but for individual health as well. And that's what I see you doing all the time, Anita. And I love learning from you in that. You have an amazing networking skill to bring together not only the Alliance, but bring people into our sports social work movement, right?
Yes, absolutely. I was going to say, one of the things that was important to me when I became a member, and I started out as you did, so I'm expecting you to be president someday. But I started out as an at-large member, and I was very interested in establishing a clinicians committee, because there's sports psychologists who also work with athletes, and I love that we now have a collaborative relationship with them. But it gave us an opportunity to introduce social workers into this same arena. And so now we have social workers working with athletes at all levels, professional, collegiate, youth sports, high school, the same way that we have professional psychologists, sports psychologists working with them. And it is more collaborative. We have a really good relationship. I serve on the committee with the Clinical Counseling and Sports Psychology Association that's looking at increasing diversity of clinicians. So wanting to see more clinicians of color serve the athlete population as well.
Yeah, and just the expansion of need, which is a, I mean, it is a great thing that people are accessing help more and more. We don't have enough clinicians. In the general, we don't. And I'm hearing, I bet you are too, people are saying, I tried to get in, but I have 4 or 5 months wait. Like, that's, and we as clinicians feel horrible when we say we can't accept any more clients. That's a bad position. I hate that.
I do too. And so one of the things that I do as well is, you know, I teach at North Carolina Central University. I didn't say that as well, in the Department of Social Work, the master's level students. And so I'm introducing them to sports social work and the importance of working with athletes. And so some of them have internships, and because it's the athlete population, I get to supervise them and also then encourage them to continue. And when I see positions, I immediately pass those positions on. Here's an opportunity at UNC. Here's an opportunity at NC State. Here's an opportunity at Elon University. It's important to continue to get as many professionals, psychologists, and yes, social workers and professional counselors serving our student athletes.
Yeah, it's so true. And I love our interdisciplinary work that we do. We know that we all need to be at these tables, building evidence for what works with our populations that we serve. We have lots of evidence already. So evidence-based practice, evidence-based interventions, evidence-informed interventions, but we need to keep going and moving and research. And I know you've been involved with several research projects, workers in sports, and with Matt Moore, our former president, our immediate past president.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I have, and it's been great. I have his book because I use that with my students and with my athletes. I also was able to participate in the journal process this year. I was one of the reviewers. And so we are looking at encouraging our other members who have done research, who have written articles, to submit those articles to the journal for inclusion or potential inclusion, because we do need to let people know about the myriad of opportunities, as well as what the research says about the needs of athletes and their mental wealth. And I like saying wealth because we want people to be wealthy mentally. That's how I think about it.
We're going to coin that from you. Heard it here first. You heard it here first. Anita, you know, we always talk about sport and athletic arenas across the lifespan. And you mentioned just a little bit ago about youth sport, about high school sport, and obviously collegiate, professional, retired. But let's just talk for a minute about this idea of the influence of sport to build strong communities, not only the individual, right? Because that's what I keep going back to with the idea of the profession of social work, grounded in this systems theory, one of the theories we are grounded in, and also really moving heavily across syllabi, across the United States in critical race theory as well. But we're saying that if we take the person in the environment.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. In the environment, you read my mind. Social work in the human environment and how we support athletes in their environment, no matter where it is. If it's at a club for little leaguers, if it's high school, if it's college, if it's junior college, you know, if it's AAU, wherever, parks and recreation, but just having the opportunity to bring the community together in this way is beneficial. And I think social workers are the best profession to do that.
Well, of course, you know, you're preaching to the choir, but of course, you know, I also love the idea that we're using the sport and athletic arena to build these healthy communities, because we know that a strong community cannot reach its full potential without sport and athletic programming.
And that is true. And one thing that has happened here, which I'm really pleased about, is Durham recently established a sports commission. And we did not have one. It's probably 5 years old. But for us, you know, you think about it. We have Duke University here. We have North Carolina Central University here. And then we have these high schools and middle schools and AAU teams. And we have a hockey league here right in Raleigh, right down the street. You know, so, and then the women's soccer, you know, so the Courage, North Carolina Courage. So we have so much here in North Carolina and in this triangle region. That's what we call ourselves, which is Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill. And so it's just wonderful. It really is.
So beautiful area too. And so as a spotlight of leadership in that arena, we can keep watching that area and see how we're growing in other parts. LA has enormous resources as well in the sport and athletic arena, you can imagine. But what do you think some of the challenges are for sports social work?
Well, the major challenge is one that I feel the Alliance is trying to address. Yeah. Thinking about athletes and serving them is very different than serving an average client. It's just like if you were working with a couple. Yeah. Couples work is going to be different. So working with athletes is different. And one of the things that we've done as an alliance, of course, is established our sports social work certificate program. So that helps to prepare social workers for thinking about their client as the athlete. When I was working for United Way, and even when I was a graduate student, because I was in human services, my classmates could never think of the agency as the client. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we don't think about athletes as the client. Mm-hmm. And so our sports counseling certificate through ASWIS gives us an opportunity to help educate people about this is how you serve this client who happens to be an athlete. Mm-hmm. And it is very different. You can't say to an athlete, if they say, I'm struggling, okay, well, just quit. Oh. They will never come to see you again. Now, if they come to you saying, I'm not sure if I want to continue my sport, it's an opportunity for you to engage them in a conversation, thinking about the pros and cons of what are the benefits, what are the downsides of if you choose to leave your sport. But you have to think about it the way they think about it. You have to think about marriage the way a couple thinks about marriage. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we teach in our sports social work certificate. And we've had so many graduates. We're up to cohort 6.
Oh,
so, yeah.
I did notice on the website we have applications are open for fall of 2022, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. That's an exciting opportunity. I think that even I know you do too. Everybody on the executive board gets emails all the time. What about this? What about that? Do you have references? Do you have ideas or referrals for places where I can get an internship? And where would I take my courses, et cetera, et cetera? All that's on our website, and it is an exciting proposition for those sports social workers that want to focus on not only the clinical work, but there's also macro material in there too. And I think, how many courses is it for the certificate?
It's 9. It's 9. And one of those 9 includes the internship. And so that's the thing that's important. We do look at everything. We look at those people who want to be administrators. Not everyone wants to be a clinician, and that is fine. But there are still opportunities to serve the athlete population, to make sure that the regulations like name, image, and likeness, that the organizations, the universities, the athletes understand all the rules about that, and who better. And then the fundraising part of it as well, which of course is what I did when I was a United Way professional. But, you know, it was so funny when I ran across that Eric Montross tape. I said, I should probably try to find him and say, do you remember?
Oh, you have to.
When I was this little lady wearing orange clothes, because it was the United Way of Greater Orange County. So I'd always wear an orange jacket. But yeah, just so cool.
Oh, Anita,
and then look, here we have the Alliance, and our colors are orange. I love it. I'm right at home.
Orange and yellow. I love it too. It's my 2 favorite colors, I promise. So, Anita, I know we have to wrap it up for everybody, and I'm so pleased that everyone was able to join us today. Thank you so, so much. But what do you have? Oh, there's so much to talk. We'll do more, right, in the future.
Yes, absolutely.
We have so much to talk about. But to wrap it up, what would you say to emerging social workers? What might you say to them?
Well, I will say to them, don't forget that there's another population of people who need your help. Because we do, you know, people say, I have heard so many times, and I have students, and this is nothing negative, but I have never worked for DSS. And most of our students think, well, I have to get a job at DSS. And I said, no. Have you ever thought about working with athletes? Yeah. That's another population that needs your help. Yeah. And so that's the one thing. Think outside of the box. Think of different populations that you've never served before. That here's an opportunity. When I think about all the universities and junior colleges and even other countries, and you haven't mentioned your international sports social work that you do so wonderfully, but even, you know, I had a student who, after she finished her work, her internship, she lived in Canada, and so we were thinking of places for her to do her internship in Canada. And so, yes, absolutely. And so there are so many opportunities, even overseas. One of my dear friends played professional basketball for almost 20 years in Australia. So it can happen. Other countries need us too.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course, I love talking about our international efforts with the Alliance. We have a collaboration and memorandums of understanding, MOUs, with Mission 89. They're headquartered out of Lausanne, Switzerland. And of course, you know, but our listeners might not know that they are focused on ending trafficking that occurs within the sport arena. So human trafficking in the sport and athletic arena, it's a tragic issue and it's global. Really? We're working with them. We actually are working with them on research that's happening in South Africa. How cool is that? The evidence for the scope of the problem in that particular country. Of course, it's a migration issue. We also are working with the Sport for Social Change Network. So these are the macro, that word is, I'm not crazy about that word, but macro social work in the sport arena, the Sport for Social Justice, no, the Sport for Social Change Network represents 200 organizations that are sport for development organizations. And they use the sport and athletic arena to build not only strong individuals, but then, of course, strong communities that eventually we're talking about strong economies and how sport influences that. So it's like this, you go from the individual and then keep moving. And then so that's the work that we do. And Anita, you leading us for the Alliance of Social Workers, saying yes to when you were voted in, saying, okay, fine, I'll do this.
But you know, my thing was, and we talk about this, when the Alliance first started, it was more academics, you know, instructors from schools of social work, which is wonderful. But I said, in order for us to compete, we've got to have some clinicians. We have to be able to do some of this sport social work directly with the athletes. And now we have this wonderful clinicians committee that's probably 25 members strong. And most of them are working with the athlete population. And so it's great. And now we have these other relationships with USOPC and the NFL and the NBA. So it gives us an opportunity to expand. And I do hope that the International Committee will think about ways that the Clinicians Committee and any of our committees can help support the work that you do, because I do think there are opportunities for clinicians to work in other countries.
Oh, enormous, enormous. And I think it goes right back to that idea of, like, we have these schools of social work and professors like you that are saying there is this vulnerable population that is in need of service, and we also have vulnerable communities that need our input on how to make them stronger. So it's magic. And then now we're actually getting more and more courses in different universities on sports social work. And that naturally is leading to expansion of field placements.
Exactly.
It's great. Right now, as you know, we have a USC, with my teaching at USC,
Yes.
we have a USC basketball player, and she is a fantastic intern for ASWIS, which is phenomenal, right? So, and we've had other guests on our live series that had field placements that were strong and got them to the place where they can get these jobs then that are opening up more and more and more. And we keep a heavy pulse on that, and it's exciting.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And I am one for passing. Anytime I see a position, I send it to a social worker. Here's an opportunity, particularly the ones that I know are interested in serving this population. And surprisingly, a lot of them played, high school and college sports. So, and then got into the social work field. And so many have said, I wish there had been someone to help me when I was a student and I did not understand, and I didn't know where to turn. And so I'm happy that they can turn to the Alliance of Social Workers in Sports.
It's so great. It's been a great ride. We're going to keep going. January 1st starts your official start date of your second year as president. We're excited to see where we're going with your leadership. And we just want to say thank you always, Anita, because it's a big job. And you bring the dance. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate the support of the executive team and all of our members and all of the athletes who trust us to serve them. That means so much to me. And so this has been my honor. Whoever would have guessed. I wish I had known years ago about this population, but I'm glad I know now. And I was a cheerleader in high school. Didn't even think about, hey, maybe they might need somebody to work with them. But I was cheering really hard. So
I think you were awesome. I could just see you dancing. Well, Anita, okay, so 2022, Happy New Year to you. Happy winter holidays. All the time you get to spend with family and all your loved ones. We'll see you in 22, and we'll keep going with ASWIS. Take good care.
Okay, great.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Bye.